Thank you. Thank you. Good morning. Please sit down. Speaker Sonny Belmonte, Secretary Mon Jimenez, Senator Frank Rilon, Vice Mayor Manon Digong Duterte, in the Chair Lu Antonino, honorable members of the House of Representatives present, Representative Sid Dungab, Representative Jerry Treñas, Representative Milen Garcia Albano, Representative Maricar Zamora, Representative Anthony Del Rosario, Representative Mel Senen Sarmiento, Representative Wesley Gatchalian, 2013 M.I.C.E experts and delegates, fellow workers in government, honored guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Of course, when I was reading the briefer, you are to attend the MICE activity. And I wondered what we were going to do with mice. Be that as it may, I really found the briefer truly educational. If I consider myself the head salesman of the country, then Tourism Secretary Mon Jimenez would have to be one of my most active salespeople. In such a short time, he has found a resounding success in improving our tourism sector. Back in 2011, we exceeded by 2 million our original 2016 target of 30.5 million domestic travelers. This means that in just a year and a half, we already exceeded the target for our whole 6-year term. Fortunately, I could not allow Secretary Jimenez, and he probably would not allow himself any breathing space. So we have revised our 2016 target to what we believe is a reasonable 56.1 million domestic travelers. And if he wants to revise it again by the middle of this year or next year, I will not object. While many of our neighbors in the region may be ahead of us in terms of international tourist arrivals, I am also pleased to say that through hard work and creativity, we are quickly catching up. Back in 2001, our country recorded 1.8 million tourist arrivals. That number had only grown to around 3.1 million by the end of 2009. Before we stepped into office in July 2010. As of 2012, we have increased that number to almost 4.3 million tourists. This is the first time we have breached the 4 million mark. And may I just add, that achievement happened in a situation where there is a global economic downturn and there are less than immaculate relations with one of our potential major tourism markets. This computes to a 1.2 million increase in tourist arrivals, meaning that in just 2 years, we have nearly matched the growth our predecessors managed in 9.5 years. We should have surpassed it, but then again, that's in the past. We can surpass it in the future. I, for one, am not surprised. After all, the simple idea behind our new tourism campaign is a basic truth, that it is more fun in the Philippines, and definitely with Mon Jimenez at the helm, it is more fun to oversee our tourism sector. Based on their own experiences, so many, I believe, have agreed. Gone are the days when we were low in the hierarchy of countries to visit and invest in. Today, foreigners and Filipinos both are discovering and rediscovering what we have to offer. The good news is that opportunities for success in tourism abound for all of us in the Asia-Pacific region. In recent years, the rest of the world has increasingly turned to us, not only for the relative stability that makes our countries conducive to investments, but also because of our unique tourism offerings. Here in Davao, we have the Kadea One Festival, which is different from the Tanabata Festival in Japan, which is different from the Diwali Festival in India. Our countries have more than enough beaches or mountains or lakes to accommodate the millions in search of a getaway. This is why I believe that there is no place for rivalry in the industry. Rather, it should stimulate friendly competition, encouraging all of us to find ways to reinvent the business of fun. And this is precisely what we're doing here today, coming together and helping each other make the most of our country's potentials. We in the Philippines have long wanted to explore other avenues for growth. In fact, my administration has been actively campaigning to host some events in the next few years, events that typically involve the participation of top global leaders in both industry and government. Take, for instance, the East Asia Summit of the World Economic Forum, which will be held here in 2014. In the same year, we will also host the joint session of the UN-WTO Regional Commission for East Asia and the Pacific and Regional Commission for South Asia. In 2015, we will be hosting the APEC Leaders Summit. Some of you may ask, what gives us the confidence to be so aggressive in making these bids? It is because we know that we have the facilities, the skills, and the competence to get things done. Just as our front-end campaign states that it's more fun in the Philippines, our back-end success is based on another basic truth. The Philippines works. As part of the meetings, incentives, travel, conventions, and exhibitions events, or MICE industry, these events give us the opportunity to show travelers that we can meet both their professional and their leisure needs. In fact, the MICE industry allows us to amplify our respective strengths. For example, events that attract up to thousands of participants give us Filipinos a larger stage on which to showcase our famed hospitality and quality of service. These thousands of visitors will be able to enjoy both work and play in our country, from world-class convention centers like this to modern hotels and shopping centers to the beauty of our beaches and other destinations. If they enjoy our countries, these visitors could decide to extend their stay, return for a vacation, recommend us to others, or even set up shop here. Conferences like this go a long way towards enhancing our abilities to handle such events, from sharing expertise on topics such as the successful branding of countries to straightforward discussions on how to make meetings and conferences memorable. Personally speaking, this will be very helpful since the Philippines is positioning itself to become a player again in the MICE industry. We in government have been doing our part to develop our tourism industry. From the onset, our administration had identified tourism as what we call a low-lying fruit, waiting to be picked. It is the perfect industry to focus on since it does not only give us the chance to show off our country, it also allows us to foster or further foster inclusive growth. Tourism booms benefit not just those at the top. It benefits local restaurant owners, food producers, transport organizations, souvenir craftsmen, schools that produce tourism professionals, and the list goes on and on and on. In fact, I am told each tourist that sets foot on our country directly translates to the creation of a job, to one more empowered Filipino ready to contribute to the economy. Ultimately, tourism brings us closer to our goal of a Philippines that leaves no one behind, where everybody gets an equal opportunity, an equal chance to carve out their own success stories and create better lives for themselves and their families. To any hoteliers out there, the Philippines will need an additional 37,000 rooms by 2016 to cope with the influx of arrivals. So perhaps you'd consider setting up shop or expanding here and giving our countrymen even more chances to show that they are indeed world-class. After all, we are offering competitive fiscal and non-fiscal incentives to tourism enterprises. And we are working on developing and improving tourism infrastructure, from roads to airports, ports, and terminals. Just last month, the International Civil Aviation Organization sent a coordinated validation mission to our country to review the efforts of our Civil Aviation Authority of the Philippines to comply with international safety standards and address previously identified safety concerns. I am pleased to relate that the members of the ICAO team expressed great satisfaction with our work. In fact, the ICAO has already lifted the significant safety concerns previously issued against the Philippines. This gives all of us great confidence that as we continue to improve our aviation industry, we may soon see our removal from the watch list of the European Union and the United States. So perhaps, before I step down from office, we will see our own airlines flying to Rome, Paris, and other cities in Europe and North America, giving us greater access to these markets and vice versa. Today, you also witness the signing into law of Senate Bill number 3343 or House Bill number 6022. Once it takes effect, this law will exempt all international and shipping carriers from paying the 3% common carriers tax on receipts and income derived from transporting passengers. The carriers are also exempted from paying tax on the gross revenue derived from the carriage of passengers, cargo, or mail, provided that the same exemption is granted by the carrier's home country to the Philippines. This will actually mean an initial loss in revenue for us, but it is ultimately a strategic move. Airlines have long asked for this measure since it will only bring in more traffic and facilitate connectivity amongst our countries. With this bill, everybody wins, from our aviation industry to our tourism industries to the millions of our peoples who will have greater freedom in planning their trips. So I'd like to thank our legislators who worked on this. In light of all of this good news, maybe Secretary Jimenez will consider revising his targets again. We believe that would make his work in the Department of Tourism even more fun. As you continue your discussions these next few days, I'm hopeful that they lead to a genuine and fruitful exchange of best practices. Because while some might believe that our countries are always in competition for tourists, I think another more progressive view is that we are engaged in friendly competition. After all, if a tourist that visits the Philippines, for example, decides to stay in the region, chances are they will also end up visiting Thailand or Malaysia or other points in our region. Is it not true then that we can all benefit from fostering the positive image of our region? And that instability in one of our countries doesn't enhance the attractiveness of neighboring states. Opportunities like the one we are presented with today present the friendly portion of friendly competition. The more cooperative we get, the more prosperous the industry becomes. This drives home the importance, therefore, of your discussions here today, as the success of your talks will help shape the landscape of global and regional tourism, and definitely will influence the growth of our respective tourism sectors. I encourage all of you to actively go around, share your ideas, and most importantly, listen to one another, so that as friends and neighbors, we can truly propel each other to heights we have never before reached. Again, I wish you a productive conference and an enjoyable stay in Davao City. Thank you and good day.
Thank you so much, Mr. President.